So you spoke about Carry On, and it was evident for the world to even see. Like, there was this thing that we weren't used to seeing, not Kirk Franklin, not all the people say. So that whole debacle, how are you guys working towards your relationship to mend that?
Let me say, like I always say, I was very ashamed of myself for the lack of control. No matter what the conversation was that I felt was a disrespectful conversation, because I'm the father, I still have the responsibility, and because I know my son, I have the responsibility to take in totality the environment that I was in,
right.
and I didn't do a good job, because he's still my son. And because he's still my son, the manner in which I talked to him was not the best. And so I own that. And there have been good days, there have been bad days still. And I am praying that my son will feel and see the support that is there for him to become his best. And the discipline and the work that takes, I know that it can be overwhelming for him, but I hope that he will see through it that he's worth it. He's worth it to himself to do the hard work with what God has in his sovereignty placed in your lap as a 36-year-old black man, that a lot of times we are wired in ways that we didn't ask for, but that does not limit us from still being our best. My son has potential in his pinky that I don't possess in my whole body. Cold, gifted, talented, good looking. And it is important for him to win because he's my son. If my son don't win, there's not an accomplishment on this planet that will ever matter. If my son doesn't win, my son has to win in life. If my son doesn't win, everything in my life is an L.
Have you identified what his trauma is?
It is his story to tell, his life. It would be disrespectful for me to speak on the nuances of his life on his behalf. He's a grown man.
You are, right.
And I respect his agency. And so I do believe that his story will be an incredible one. And I do believe that it will be healing for many people if and when he chooses to tell it. But it's his story.
Right. I can only imagine. I was always, in my fear is for my children to feel the pressure to live up to. Oh, I see it in rec ball now.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Cam Newton's son.
Yeah.
That's Cameron's daughter. Like that's Cam Newton's daughter. His sign right there. Look, that's it. Look, just like him. Boy, it's a lot of them. Oh, boy, I want one of your sons too. It's an auction. And they see it, they sense they're a part of it. They see the YouTube videos, they see how people respect and react to their father.
Yeah.
And that's pressure.
Yes.
So from the son, I know it could be pressure, and nobody talks about that.
Yes.
As, what is it like?
Yes.
What you got to stress about? Boy, you Kirk Franklin's son.
Yeah.
Like, what? You
Yeah.
Cam Newton's son. What?
Yeah.
You ain't got no real
Yeah.
I do though, because I have identity issues.
Yes. And all four of my children will tell you that they have all had that experience. All four of them, you know? and even Tammy, I'm quite sure, that, and then for us, it is also the duality of the pressure of religion, which is a whole nother layer.
Right.
And it's a layer that you never feel like you can win, because the reason why it's hard to win the religious pressure is because it's so nuanced. It's so nuanced because everyone that is religious is not monolithic. So there are different variations of what right and wrong is, even within the subtext of the subculture. Right. And so that becomes even a more pressure, because if you're Pentecostal, there's a critique. If you're AME, there's a critique. If you're apostolic, there's a critique. If you're Seventh Adventist, there's a critique. There's always a critique within the subcultures of the subculture. And so that, along with whatever platforms that God has been kind enough to loan me, my children and my spouse, I know have had their life's issues with being connected to me.
I owe a service to the viewer by understanding this. How do you react or respond to him acknowledging that he's a bisexual?
I have always wanted my children to always know. And I had these conversations with them when they were younger. I had this conversation because, again, I've been Carry-On's father. I've had conversations with Carry-On since he was a little boy.
Yeah.
I know my son.
Yes.
And my conversation with him has always been a consistent one. I love you, and my love for you is not based on who you love. I love you. And that is my answer. And that's my answer as a Christian father that believes in the text. I love you, and my love for you does not waver at all based on who you love.
There's a beautiful picture when he comes into the hotel. You tell him the news. It was so much. He came in so strong, and then all of a sudden, boom! You show him the phone, and then boom! It just crumbles. And then y'all have this father-son moment where both of you guys are on the floor, and it's just giving me goosebumps just thinking about it. Just as a father, you just reach out and touch your son. And I don't care how old you get. I don't care how crazy you think you is. You're still my son.
My son.
And y'all had such a beautiful exchange there where he even said, this is the only thing that I'm missing. So the acknowledgement is there. And I think the story isn't crazy. I think the willingness for us to see it to somebody that we put at such high regard because of your talent, that's the difference.
And that is so unfortunate at times, isn't it? That the perception is that you are absent of your own humanity. I'm still a human, and I still go through human things. So, and I'm doing my best to live the love of the Father out in every aspect of my life, so that the love of Jesus becomes alive in every aspect of my life. And I wanted to, and I fail, I sin, I fall short, I'm far from perfect, I don't do everything right, and I'm a candidate for grace. Paul calls himself the chief sinner. He's writing his letter to the church, and he says, I am the chief of sinners. And I love that posture, because if anyone could be cocky and arrogant, this dude lived to see Jesus. He didn't die before he saw heaven. He was caught up, he said. He was caught up, and God revealed heaven to him, but still he came to earth, back to his humanity, and calls himself the chief sinner, the worst of the worst. And so It's going to show up in me being a husband at times. It's going to show up in me being a father sometimes. It's going to show up in me being an artist sometimes. It's going to show up in me being a friend, a brother sometimes. What's going to show up is that I love Jesus, but I'm not him.
You speak with so much grace, so much humility, and conviction of knowing exactly who you are.
Wow. Thank you. That means a lot.
I mean, it is. It's
But I need you to know at this season in my life, what you just said means the world. It's because there are things in my life that I feel disappointed in myself. That there are things in my life in this season that I don't feel like that I am my best self. And it is very encouraging to know that even though I may not feel my best, that you still see some residue of the Lord on me. That is extremely encouraging, extremely.